Howdy folks, it's Harrison with Mainely Acres Farms. Thank you for tuning in with us today. Let's see what we have going on the craft table this afternoon. Today on the crafting table we're going to go over general maintenance and oiling of your sewing machine. So if you guys own one of these Chinese leather sewing machines, or if you own the Singer hand crank sewing machine, check this video out because it's going to allow you to run your machine a lot more smoother. So let's dive right on into it and find out where we want to put some oil. Now you guys can use any oil. I use a 3-in-1. The reason why I use that is because it helps clean the machine when you go and put the oil on there, and it keeps it nice and lubricated. So the first oiling points I want to go over is this one here in the front and the one right on the back. Alrighty. So if you guys can see, the hole here on the front for this to oil this rocker arm is a nice large hole. It will actually fit the spout of my oil, so I just stick it in there, give it a few shakes. I don't really have to squeeze it, and that put enough oil there in that channel. And what that's going to do is going to travel down this hole and meet up with the shank on this bolt and keep that surface area nice and smooth, because this pivots back and forth like such, and the same thing with the arm in the back. But the arm in the back, the hole is not drilled out so large, so what I do is I just take it and try to drip a drop right over the hole, and sometimes you guys will notice a little air bubble pushes your oil back out of the hole. You just kind of tamp it in with your threading device, and it will allow that oil to travel down the hole and lubricate the other side of that arm. And it's a nice idea to have a little oiling rag with you while you're doing the machine, because I like to put quite a bit of oil on there, and you'll see why in the end when we go over all the oiling points. Alrighty, the next points that we're going to want to oil on the machine after we got the two rocker arms oiled up is right in between here. Let me get my point and stick. We want to oil this point here where the crankshaft meets the frame of the machine. Also, there's a ball bearing here in your rocker arm that travels in a groove inside of your crank. Another good place is in between the frame and your rocker arms here, so right in between. Also, this whole shaft here that goes through these rocker arms spins when you spin the crank. See, I'll show you. And you're going to want to oil on this side of the mount and on that side of it, and it will just allow it to spin a lot freer. There's also a ball bearing or roller wheel here that could use a little bit of oil. And that is going to be it for this backside. So let me go ahead and hit those up with some oil and see if that doesn't help with a little bit of the squeakiness. Now that we've oiled the back of the machine, I'm going to come back to the front again, and you'll notice here you'll have two nuts there, and that attaches to this arm on the inside that runs in a groove inside of this arm back and forth, and that operates your bobbin inside. So what I like to do is I like to put ball bearing grease inside of there to allow that to run nice and smooth to where I don't have to constantly maintain that and keep putting oil in there. But one thing that I did want to talk about is that this connects to like a plate here in the back, and that plate runs inside of the frame, inside of a channel, and kind of keeps it in line. I do like to put some oil on top of that plate there and work it in with the crank. So I'm going to take my oil jug, put just 3 or 4 drops on the top of that plate, and I'm going to work the crank, and you guys will see it disappear and come back. And that helps out with the friction on the inside of there, and it will work all up in that channel inside of there. So that's why I like to give it a few cranks like that. If you guys don't use grease in yours when you order it, when you buy it, you'd have to take it all apart and put it in there. You're definitely going to want to keep that lubricated quite often, actually, more so than what you would do to the general maintenance and everything else. Next stop on the sewing machine is going to be just inside of this well here. you're going to have some gears, and that operates your bobbin shuttle inside. Let me see if I can get that out, show you guys. There we are. And that shuttle comes right on out, and what I like to do is just put a drop of oil inside of that well. Take a clean end of a Q-tip, wipe it all around inside of there. You guys can see all the junk I got out of there, so we'll put a little bit more and give it another wipe down. I don't usually put any oil on like the outside or on the side here, and the reason being is because this is where the thread goes, and I don't really want that to get gummed up with oil and have a lot of sticky stuff going on. So I usually leave that dry, but when I drop it back into that well, it gets plenty of oil on the back of the gears there. So an important thing before installing this is to make sure to have your crank, I'm going to have to back out for you guys. Make sure to have your crank at the 12 o'clock position. That is really important when this piece comes out of your bar, because if you don't have your crank at the 12 o'clock position and you put that in there at any position that you like, your sewing machine is not going to sew. So if you guys are having problems with your sewing machine not sewing, it's always good to take that out and adjust it to make sure it's in the right position. We're going to take our gear and bobbin mover, if you will. Sorry, don't have technical names for these. And you're going to put that in to where the back tab is at the 3 o'clock position. And something that helps it if it's not going all the way down, I'll just take my thumb and kind of hold downward pressure and just rock that crank just a little bit back and forth. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow the gears to meet up. But be careful when you do that, because as you guys can see, that's operating your needle. And if you do a full stroke, that needle is going to come down on your thumb. So just work it back ever so like this, and your thumb should be fine. So that's going to conclude the oiling of our bobbin well. So we'll go ahead and close our plate back on. It's important to do that because if you accidentally have your plate like sideways like that and you go to do a rotation, your needle's going to come down on the plate and it's going to break your needle in half. I've done that already, so I figured I'd save you guys having to replace the needle, and just make sure that you either have this in this position when you're doing the maintenance or have it in the all the way open position. Alrighty, so we have oiled all pretty much the back all the way up to the middle here. So now we're going to continue oiling onto the front. And the points that I'm going to point out real quick before I get to oiling is you have a metal on metal contact point here, and this is your thread guide. You guys can see it goes up and down. That meets on with the other one. This isn't really that important to oil, but it is a moving point on your sewing machine. So I drop a little bit of oil in there every now and again. Not every time I maintenance the machine, but just every now and again. This point here, where your rocker arm meets in with your needle driver, I oil where the needle driver meets this rocking arm, and also on the other side, there's a cutout there. I also put a drop of oil here on the other end of the arm where it meets the needle driver. Also, I will put a drop here, here, and here all along this needle driver and allow it to run down the needle driver. And also on the presser foot bars as well. There's actually two pieces of metal in here. There's 1 and 2, and I like to put oil all along this here so we can get it while it goes up and down, and also in between the two pieces because they actually rub up and down against each other. So that's another frictioning point that I like to put oil in. Another good place to oil is you have some springs on there, and what I like to do is just take a little bit of oil, run it on my finger, and just rub it into those springs kind of up and down. It keeps them nice and springy, and if they're getting any kind of rust on them or anything, it's just nice to freshen them up. You also have 2 springs on the inside there, and you still have enough oil on the tip of your finger just from that little bit you put on there, and just rub them up and down on the springs. Alrighty, so I'm going to give it a few cranks and work that oil that I just put in there into it. Alright. Alrighty, the last two oiling points that I wanted to go over is here on the back. You have your rocking arm here that operates your presser foot, and it's held in at this point with a nut, or with a bolt and a nut on the opposite side. I like to take a bit of oil and put it in between here where the nut meets the arm, and also where the arm meets the frame. Run oil on that inside as well. And the last place is this lever here that operates your presser foot of going up and down. I like to put a little drop of oil on that point, and also on the inside point where it meets the frame, and kind of work that in there. So now that the oiling is complete, I'm going to take you around to the front and show you what I do to get all that oil worked in there. Alrighty, now that we have our machine all oiled and lubricated up, it's really good to just run it for a while now. I'm going to put my presser foot back down, and like that, and I'm just going to run it. I'm going to spin it clockwise, like the way that you're supposed to when you're sewing. I'm also going to go counterclockwise there, and then go back forward. There's only a little bit of squeak, but not much at all. And like I said, that squeak will work itself out by the time we get done working all that oil through the points. And what this is doing is it's allowing the oil to get in there, to penetrate, and it's also cleaning out the parts while we're doing this. So that's why I really wasn't too particular about wiping the machine down as I was oiling, because I'm going to come back after I'm done rotating the machine and wipe all of those points down. So it's just a good idea, like I said, to have an oil cloth, a few Q-tips, to get up under here and wipe off any excess oil coming off your rocker arm. You guys can see mine wasn't too bad, wasn't too dirty, but if you go a long period of time between maintenance of your machine, you will find it does get pretty grody. All of that gunk there just came off of my presser foot lever because it does get a lot of use and going up and down. So I'm really glad that I oiled that point today, because it also cleans it out. Now I'll just take my rag and kind of buff that needle driver out and go around that, and also the presser foot arms. And then just give a general wipe down of the machine. And that's going to conclude it. So thank you guys for tuning in and watching this little maintenance video. I know a few of you guys have these machines, and I've seen a bunch of YouTube videos popping up here recently with people ordering these and running them. So I figured it would be an important thing to go over the maintenance on them and how to keep them oiled and up to par and running smooth. So I hope this was helpful for you guys. If you like this video, please, as always, like, hit the thumbs up, and subscribe, and also leave comments down below. Let me know what I'm doing right, let me know what I'm doing wrong, what you would like to see differently maybe with these crafting videos, or if I'm doing a good job, let me know that too.